Hi, in this tutorial I'll talk about how you can add your Git user as a global user to your either terminal or your command prompt if you're on Windows machine, so that you do not need to enter your credentials every time when you push something to the remote repository. Means if you push something to GitHub, you do not need to add your credentials every time. So for that, I'll take an example here. So what I'll do, I'll add a file called gitignore. This is a hidden file and I push that file to my remote repository. While doing so, I'll explain how you can add the global user. So what I'll do, I have open terminal here in this folder, and if I say git status, don't worry about these commands. I'll explain these commands in detail in coming tutorials. For now, I just wanted to show you something. Git status. So it say one file has been added here. Okay, untracked file. So what I'll do, git add and my file git ignore. Right, this has been added. So if I do the git status again, you'll see this file has been added and ready to commit. So what I'll do, git commit. You can add one file, means one file, or you can add all the files all together. So I'll say the message, I would say message is git ignore added. Okay, now what I say, git push hyphen u. So as soon as I hit this git push, you see anonymous access is not defined, means my user is not added at all here. So what I can do, if my user is already there, they may ask for the credentials, but let me add a user here. So what I do to adding user, git config. I'm adding this as a globally hyphen global, global, and user dot name. So whatever the name of my user is, let's say my name is Geeks Codebase. Right, now I need to add email and password. So first let me add email. The command is exactly same, git config hyphen global user dot email. So I will add my email here. So this has been added. Now I need to add credentials. So for the credentials, what you have to do, git config global user dot password. Now here's a twist. Now that simple password is not supported. You have to add a personal authentication token. Whatever the password you chose to create this user, that may not work further. Earlier, if you already have earlier, they might be working, or that, but in future that may not work. So what you have to do, you have to generate a personal access token. So what I'll do, go here, go to your account, go to settings, and inside this left hand side, go to the developer settings. Here you will find these options here, personal access token. Here you will see what kind of token. For now, I'll use my classic token because the other option is in beta. So I'll add it here. If you see, I already have my token which I'm using earlier. So what you can do, you can add any number of the tokens, or let me generate new one. You have to authenticate yourself, right? Because you are generating a token which will be used to authenticate. So here, name, whatever the name is, let's say PAT and test token, and expiration. What is the expiry date you want? How much time you want that token to be expired for? Let's say I'm saying 30 days is enough for me. And you have to add the permissions. What permission you want for that token, means if you access or using that token, what kind of permission. As you are a beginner, let's say all permissions for now, but you shouldn't do it because you have to add permission as per your need. But for learning purpose, I'm saying all the permissions, and just hit generate. So this token has been generated. Please keep that token somewhere. So this will be available only once. Later you won't be able to see this token. So what I'll do, let me copy this token now, and in terminal, instead of password, I'll use this token, right? And set. Now everything has been set. Now if you want to check now, let's say git config. So as I said, you hit git config user.name. So it will say what is the username, and it is added globally here, right? And if you hit git.email, git.password, right now it will show you what is the email and what is the password. So now if I push that file, it should push my data because now I have added a user. So so if I hit git push -u, see this has been pushed. So this file should be added. Okay, it will ask my username first time. I would say geeks code base. And the password, now you will be using this access token, whatever we created. Done. And see, this has been added. Now this file has been added to a remote repository. Now let's check, go back and check whether this has been added. Go to repository and this one. See, this git ignore has been added. So that way you can add credentials. Now in future, it should not ask you further. So let's say if you commit something again, push something again, if it asks you, so let me know. Okay, ideally it should not. So where this configuration are stored, inside your folder, means inside your user folder, there should be a file. The file name should be gitconfig. So all the configuration related information should be stored here. So if you are whether on a Windows or Mac machine, you have your user folder. Inside user folder, you should find this. So let me open this. If you see this, my information has been added here. So further, it should not ask you every time because these are stored as a global user. If you're on Mac, sometime you can get a issue here. Let's say you want to change user and even you remove this file, so you keep getting the same user. So the reason being, sometimes on Mac it's stored in your keychain access. So go there. This is only for the Mac users. So go to the keychain access and search for the git. Okay, you'll find a github.com internet password. Here you will see these information has been stored. Sometimes in case if you want to change your user, if you already have a user and if you want to change your git user from command prompt or the terminal, you can remove it here and it will ask you again. Okay, so the information is stored in this file gitconfig, whatever the operating system you are using. So if you are using any IDE has its own git user options to add your git user. Every IDE has a different options to add it. Whenever I'll explain IDs, I'll explain how to add git user to your IDs. But ideally, all the IDs these days get only the personal access token instead of this password. Every ID has a different way of adding it. So we'll explain as and when I'll explain this IDE. I hope you understood. If you have any question, add your comment. Thank you.